I am Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
And we two Catholics are about to bring in another Catholic, Ed Morrissey. Ed Morrissey covering all things Vatican right now for Hot Air, although he really covers everything, of course, better than anyone as the managing editor of hotair.com and my colleague over there in the Town Hall Media Empire. Ed, thanks for joining us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Julie. Hey, I'd like to announce a change. I've decided that I'm going to change my title to the Camerlengo of
Oh,
hotair.com.
yeah. That
Isn't
is a good
the
one.
coolest title? That's the coolest title
It
ever.
is.
And you know what it means? It means that I'm the guy in charge when nobody else is around. So that I think it's actually a more fitting title.
That's rather accurate. Anybody who knows what goes on at Town Hall. Yeah, absolutely. Camerlingo Pizzaboli, I think, would be even better.
Even better.
Ed, first of all, your reflections on the funeral proceedings, always an incredible spectacle at St. Peter's. But it's been noted that for a pontificate that really made itself the enemy of the Latin Mass, there was a whole lot of Latin at this funeral proceeding.
Yeah, I think that may be more dictated by Vatican tradition than Pope Francis's personal
Yes, I'm sure.
Choices there, but some of it was dictated by personal choices because he's being buried at Saint Mary Major, which was his favorite basilica in Rome. It's where he often went to pray, which is a little bit of a change, but not terribly unusual. But it was a little bit of a change, and so he did ask for that, but he apparently didn't leave any particular instructions for the Mass. So I assume that they just went with the traditional Vatican papal funeral Mass.
You were one of the more sober voices commenting on this pontificate, on Pope Francis. You remarked at Hot Air about questionable public statements that maybe lent confusion to the laity. But when all is said and done, despite all the criticisms from pretty strident voices, especially in the American Catholic media, is there any major difference in terms of the faith, morals, and practices of the Catholic Church now that Pope Francis is gone, and as we sort of move forward? Has the Church changed much? Was he really the big agent of change that everybody pretended he was, or are things pretty much sort of the same as they were, if not just feeling a little different?
Well, I think it's more the latter, right? I mean, doctrinally, nothing really changed. There were different emphases, right? I think if there was anything that changed, it was the lack of precision and ambiguity that sort of surrounded some of these issues, especially around family life and marriage. I think that there were, and some other things as well, but primarily I think that that's what got people the most anxious about Pope Francis. The reason why is because he did not speak with the type of theological precision that we were used to from John Paul II or Benedict XVI, especially. I would say Benedict XVI. He was much more of a pastoral guy. He was your neighborhood priest. He was the kind of guy that if you asked him a question, he'd just give you the answer off the top of his head that he was thinking at the time. And he didn't necessarily phrase everything in the traditional numbered bullet phrases, bullet paragraph type of
or
things that you
systematically
see
like he followed a professor, a philosophy professor, for crying out loud, where everything was very systematic and very academic, and he was a little bit more of a feeler. But ultimately, I mean, the only thing I can think of is like, what doctrine? It's not really a doctrine, but the biggest change was the language in the catechism with regard to capital punishment, which was never really a doctrine per se, but other than that.
Well, I would say even there it wasn't really much of a change because John Paul II had said pretty much the same thing during his pontificate, had said that he didn't think that there was any reason for the death penalty to ever be used. That it didn't change the catechism. Technically speaking, that teaching hasn't changed. The language isn't that much different. But yes, I think that might be the only doctrine. The only thing that really approaches a doctrinal change, and that's a pretty narrow doctrinal change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Ed, I'd like to also talk about the fact that he seemed to be changing things, and certainly the media, they weren't as precise as you and Larry. They made it sound like, hey, gay marriage is okay in the Catholic Church now, and all these other things. So, I mean, there was some damage done, I think, just from like a PR perspective, or from, I appreciate the analysis, that he wasn't precise or that he confused people, but I do think he really gave a foothold to the liberal sort of anti-Catholic media to suggest that there were doctrinal changes.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, though, I mean, first off, the imprecision and ambiguity sort of allowed that to happen, which is the reason why popes need to be precise and non-ambiguous when they're speaking on these matters. But I will tell you this. I was at the Synod in the Family where all that started coming up, right? And this was one where they were going to address gay marriage. That wasn't really what the Synod in the Family was about. Not even that emphasis. The emphasis was, how do you reach children of broken marriages to be able to share the gospel with them? And the idea was, well, we need to be a little friendlier to the people who are in those broken marriages by being more welcoming. And that was all it was.
Right.
And it was the media. I was there front row, at the Vatican covering this thing, and I couldn't believe what the American media, not just American media, European media was doing the same thing, saying, Pope Francis says gay people are welcome. Well, gay people have always been welcome to the Catholic Church, right? That doesn't mean that we're changing the doctrine, but, I mean, he wasn't saying anything new. It was the way that the media was filtering it. And so, like a day later, the bishops had come out and said, no, we're not addressing gay marriage, and the doctrine is clear on that. And it was like, bishops are, in opposition to Pope Francis, which was nonsense. And I mean, from the Vatican press room, it was pretty ridiculous. But here in America, it was playing completely differently.
But Julie makes a good point. If the teaching office of the Vatican is a pretty fundamental part, and a teacher needs to be clear. Yeah. Clear and unambiguous. All right. So going forward, we only have about a minute and a half here, but going forward, what's the plan? And what you're a bit of a Vatican watcher. Is there a front runner?
No, I don't even believe in the concept of a front runner. You got 135 cardinals who are going to choose between 135 candidates, and I think they don't even know each other yet. Or they're probably just starting to get to know each other a little bit. So I don't think you could look at this in terms of front runners. I think you look at it in terms of what the model of the next pope is going to be. And I think all this ambiguity and consternation within the church is going to probably lead them to look for somebody who's more precise, less ambiguous, a little bit more focused on doctrinal mission, as well as still being somebody who can extend Pope Francis's pastoral outreach. Now, is there somebody like that who hits all those marks? I don't know, but I think that's what we need to look at. Is where that. The other thing I would say too is look where the energy of the church is at the moment. It's in Africa and it's in South Asia, and those bishops are going to have an influence. They may not come. The next pope may not come from those places, but they're going to have an influence on who that next pope is going to be.
We'll be watching your coverage, Ed Morrissey, over at hotair.com,
Thank you,
as
sir.
we always do. Have you pried up any expense money to actually get to Rome this time around?
Not this time. I think that was a once in a lifetime deal from my good friends at Salem, and I'm going to just leave it at that. And this time I'm going to be watching it from afar this time. But man, that was the experience of a lifetime, and Salem was really great to send me over there. So yeah, it was great.
Oh.
But it ain't happening this time. All right, thank you, Ed. I did my best. What can I tell you?
I appreciate it too.
We're going to send the team from Twitchy instead, because they'll cover it in the sober, circumspect way that we've grown accustomed.